Barakatay Hawa, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Racha Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is The Laws Have Always Been Here. And pretty much this lesson comes to the inspiration of just meditating on how you have a lot of these so-called Egyptologists, which all that Egyptologist bullshit was started by Esau. They're the ones that came up with the whole concept of Egyptology. The father of Egyptology was forget his name off top. It's kind of on the tip of my tongue, but it's not. Champollion. He's the father of Egyptology. So all these, so-called debates that are coming out of the so-called black conscious community, all of that bullshit comes from the so-called white man. The small hats that put all that bullshit together. And what they say is that, you have books like the Enuma Elish, the Epic of Gilgamesh, the 42 Negative Confessions of Ma'at, and other writings or books that were written prior to the Bible that predate the Bible, and that is the proof from them that the Bible is plagiarized from these Hamitic books, which is total bullshit, And Lord's willing, this lesson we're going to go into it and examine the scriptures to show you, that that's not so. What you're looking at in front of you right now is cuneiform, which is nothing more than what cuneiform is wedge writing. That's what it breaks down to. Cuneiform is wedged writing. And pretty much what this is a close-up of something called the Hammurabi Code. And the Hammurabi Code is something that is still used to this very day in law. These were a group of laws that were broken down into 10 sections. There's, I believe, 282 laws, within the whole scope. And it pretty much is a legal form or set of rules that were written down by Hammurabi, which he was alive around the 1700s BC. All right. And we're going to get into some points on that and go from there, because see, this is dated 1700 and some odd BC, which we're going to get the exact dates in a minute. And the Bible that we know today, the Torah, began to be compiled around 1500 BC, which is about almost 200 years later. So that's why they'll say, well, see, the Bible was plagiarized from this, but we're going to show you that that's not the case. Now, what we're going to do is get into this real quick. The top 8 contributions of Hammurabi. This was updated March 31st, 2021, year of the turn-up, which was a couple of days ago, today being April 4th. It says Hammurabi, also known as Hammurabi, was the greatest emperor of Babylon and one of the greatest rulers in the world. Now, you had many different rulers that ruled Babylon, but they weren't all Babylonians, because the original Babylonians go back to Cush, one of the sons of Ham. Nimrod was a Cushite. He was an actual Cushite that ruled in Babylon. There were a lot of different rulers in Babylon that were not Babylonians. And this particular ruler here, Hammurabi or Hammurabi, actually was a ruler that was not a Cushite. He was the 6th emperor of the Amorites. So he was an Amorite, which the Amorites come from the Canaanites. All right. So he was an actual Canaanite that ruled as a king in Babylon. And he inherited the throne from his father, Simu-Balit. And there's a whole list of rulers going back to, to the beginning of the Amorite rule in that region that all go back to the Amorites or the Canaanites. He was born in the city of Babylon in 1810 BC, now present-day Iraq. His contributions to the development of Babylon were outstanding. Hammurabi's greatest achievement was to bring together his kingdom's previously unstable states, which had no system of government or law. He introduced a certain set of laws known as the Code of Hammurabi, which was applied throughout Mesopotamian society. This was a simple but effective change. Hammurabi combined all these states and cities into a powerful empire in which every citizen lived by the same rules. All right, and here is a relief of him, and like in everything, everybody in history that ever had a position that was great, that's talked about in history, they're always white. The so-called white man always paints them as white. But in the beginning, and even when you look at the world today, the majority of the people on the planet are people of color. All nations on the planet Earth are people of color. Esau is the only oddball. But for some reason, it's only been Esau, the face of every great historic person ever to be in history. The only time he can't, fake the funk, and even he still does it, is when there's, paintings or actual carvings of these different individuals that showed clearly that they're people of color. But that's another topic for another time. Here are the top 8 contributions of Hammurabi, which made him one of the greatest rulers in the world. The great emperor of Babylon, Mesopotamia conquered. Code of Hammurabi, which this is what we're going to focus on. Internal development and architecture, protector of the realm, urbanization, agricultural development, and classification of society. Now, the point that we're going to get into is the Code of Hammurabi, which you see here. All right. Now, the Code of Hammurabi is a Babylonian legal text composed circa 1755 to 1750. Now, keep in mind, this is about 1700. About 1700, almost 2,000 years before Moses came on the scene and started to compile what we have as the records of the scriptures today. It is the longest, best organized, and best preserved legal text from the ancient Near East. It is written in Old Babylonian dialect of Akkadian, purportedly by Hammurabi, 6th king of the first dynasty of Babylon. All right, now we're going to jump down to laws. Laws. And here it gives you the Code of Hammurabi is the longest and best organized legal text. We just read that. So here it is. Here goes the translation of these laws, right? So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In the style of the 10 Commandments. All right, because the 10 Commandments pretty much is a guideline to the rest of the 613 commandments that are written in the scriptures. And they all fall under one of those categories of the 10 Commandments, which pretty much falls on the 2 greatest commandments. Thou shalt love the Lord thy power with all thy heart, mind, and soul, and thou shalt love thy brother as thyself. Because all of those commandments, when they're broken against the Most High first and foremost, and then against your brother. So when we deal with this, we're just flowing in the spirit. And I have some precepts that I want to bring out, but when the spirit, when the appropriate time comes. This is a legal area, laws, specific provisions, example in the English, example in the Akkadian, right? So we have offenses against the administration of law. Then it gives you the laws here, which is 1 through 5. And when you scroll all the way down, you have all the way to 278, which really it's 282 laws, I believe. And the very first one is false charges, false testimony, falsification of judgment. And it gives you each law where you can find these actual laws in, right? Spare me 1 second. Then it says, if a man accuses another man and charges him with homicide, but cannot bring proof against him, his accuser shall be killed. So similar to what's written in the scriptures on this particular situation dealing with false witness. So when we go to the scriptures, I'm sorry, before we go to the scriptures, we're going to go to the actual code of laws right here, the code of Hammurabi. And I got a list of the full, complete, code of laws of Hammurabi. All the way, it was 282 laws. Yep. So what we're going to do is, within the first one, when it speaks about false witness, right, you have from 1 through 5. So from number 1 to number 5, these are all laws concerning, a false testimony or false charges, right? So let's get to some of them. If anyone ensnare another, putting a ban upon him, but he cannot prove it, then he that ensnared him shall be put to death. If anyone bring an accusation against a man, and the accused go to the river and leap into the river, if he sink in the river, his accuser shall take possession of his house, right? So on and so forth. If anyone bring an accusation of any crime before the elders and does not prove what he has charged, he shall, if it be a capital offense charge, be put to death. If he satisfy the elders to impose a fine of grain or money, he shall receive the fine that action produces, so on and so forth, right? When we go to the scriptures, beginning in the book of Exodus, the 20th chapter, right, we'll go to Exodus 20 and 16. It says what? Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. See? So you're not supposed to tell anything false against your neighbor. Now, within the Hammurabi Code, you have the offense and you have the penalty. Within the scriptures, you have the what not to do as an offense. And then when you go to other parts of the scriptures, it tells you what should be done if that is the case. If this particular thing happens, then we should do this. If that particular thing happens, then do that. Deuteronomy 19 and 15 says laws of landmark and testimony. Deuteronomy 19, and we're just going to go straight to the point. 15. One witness shall not rise up against a man for any iniquity or for any sin. If in any sin that he sinneth, at the mouth of 2 witnesses or at the mouth of 3 witnesses shall the matter be established. So this was not written there, but it's got the same kind of sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? The same sentiment, so to speak, right? If a false witness rise up against any man to testify against him that which is wrong, then both the men between whom the controversy is shall stand before the Lord, before the priests and the judges which shall be in those days, and the judges shall make diligent inquisition. And behold, if the witness be a false witness, and hath testified falsely against his brother, then he shall do unto him as he had thought to have done unto his brother. So shall thou put evil away from among you. All right. So this is the point. So this set of rules or laws that are here, right, that were written in the 1700 BC or 1750 BC or so, in comparison to the laws of the Most High that were given to Moses to give to the children of Israel, that were written circa 1500 BC, almost 200 years later, right? Why is that? Well, when we go to the scriptures, it gives us better understanding of it. So let's go to, first and foremost, the laws have always been here, and that's pretty much the title of the lesson. The laws have always been here. The problem is that when you go back to the beginning, the laws were not written out. It was an oral law, an oral tradition passed down from generation to generation. Because when the Lord first established the earth, which he had a plan anyway, the sentiment was to set up the earth in proper order, setting up Adam to rule, and the people that were there to keep perfect order. But that went a different direction, because that's the direction the Lord wanted it to go in. Now we're coming back to the point where we're going to set it back in order through the spirit and power of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. But when we go to Matthew, the 6th chapter, it gives us an indication of how the earth is supposed to be run. It's supposed to be run in order, because the scriptures say, let all things be done decently and in order. So when we go to Matthew 6 and 9, Yahushua told his disciples, matter of fact, after this manner, therefore, pray ye, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. So what does that mean? Meaning that whatever order is established in the heavens should be established upon the earth. And that's why the Lord told Moses, when you set up this tabernacle, make sure that you set everything up the way you saw it. Because that was the setup on the earth, the way that it was set up in the heavens was an indication of future things to come. Because the earth was going to be established back upon righteous principles. That's why this current wicked earth is going to be destroyed. And then the next earth that's here, which is going to be the same earth, but renewed, refreshed, is going to be run and ruled under righteousness. And that righteousness is contained within what? Within the laws that are written in the Bible. Because this is what keeps everything in its proper order. Because when there is a transgression, it sets the motion in a bad direction. You know? And this is why whenever Israel would sin, if it was just one man, like in the case of Achan, what happened? All of Israel was getting jacked up. Why? Because the balance was off. You got to get the balance right. Inside joke. But when that individual was put to death, or the punishment was exacted upon that individual or individuals, then that would set the balance right. It would appease the Most High, and everything will go back to the way it was supposed to be. All right. So that's why Yahushua said, let thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Now, when we go back to Genesis, the 1st chapter, and the 26th verse, this is Yahushua, and the angel said, and the power said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. Because man, specifically the sons of the Most High, which are the Israelites today, are supposed to keep an order about everything. You know, they have to have the dominion. See, at one time, the animals were afraid to attack humans. It wasn't until everything started going in the wrong direction that animals started to attack people. But at one time, the fear of these animals were upon, the fear of man was upon these animals, and they would not dare attack. You know how when you go around birds or squirrels or different animals like that, and they take off running, scared? That's how all animals were in the face of man at one time, until the Lord gave that dominion. Now, moving on into Genesis, the 4th chapter, we're going to read from the 1st verse down. There's a point here to really extrapolate, you know, because it's not written. It doesn't say, well, this is how you know that so-and-so, X, Y, and Z. But when you read it, questions should come into your mind, right? Because we're dealing with the situation where they're saying that the Hammurabi Code and the Enuma Elish and the Epic of Gilgamesh and the 42 Negative Confessions of Ma'at and all these other different books were written before the Bible. So that means the Bible plagiarized them. But they're wrong. They err in their statements. It is true that they were written before, but there's a reason. Now let's get to it. Genesis 4:1, and Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord. And she again bare his brother Abel, and Abel was a keeper of the sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. So Abel kept sheep, Cain tilled the ground. And in process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. Now, why would Cain bring an offering unto the Lord? Because this was a custom. This was a law. This was something that was done, but it just wasn't written down. This was something that was passed down by word of mouth. This was the oral law was always here. There were certain things that men did, you know, that there was an understanding of these laws, and there was an understanding of not infringing upon another's rights. And there were certain things that were established and done if they infringe on others' rights. That's why eventually in the 1700 BCs, Hammurabi started writing those codes down. But just because he wrote them down doesn't mean that he's the originator of that. These were laws that were already in place, but they were in place orally, right? It says, and Abel he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof, and the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering, but unto Cain and to his offering he had no respect, and Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. So why is it that if he was just willingly offering it, and then Abel was willingly offering his sacrifice, did the Most High have respect to one and not to the other? Because obviously they knew that there was a law and there was a way to make sacrifices or offerings to the Lord. And the Lord, his main offering that he liked was animal sacrifices. To smell the fat and the oil and everything burning and giving that savory smell that meat gives when you cook it. Right? So it says, but unto Cain and to his offering he had no respect, and Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And the Lord said unto Cain, why art thou wroth, or why are you mad? And why is thy countenance fallen? If thou doest well. So how would he know to do well? Because it was already orally spoken or known how to set up offerings unto the Heavenly Father, to the Most High. We look up this word well. If thou doest well, the word there is yatab. To be good, be pleasing, be well, be glad. To do well. To do well. So what is to do well? Mean that there's a standard of something that's right and something that's wrong. You know, there was a standard of what is right and what is wrong. And you have to be able to discern, okay, look, the Lord is not pleased with fruit sacrifices or offerings. So he's pleased with the sacrifices of animals and their fat, and their burning flesh is pleasing to him. So either you're gonna do what's right or you're gonna do what's wrong. And if you do what's wrong, you're not going to be accepted, just like Cain was not accepted. You know? Matter of fact, let's get this real quick. Malachi 1. I believe it's the first chapter. Right. Malachi 1 to 13. Ye said also, behold, what a weariness is it, and ye have snuffed at it, saith the Lord of hosts. And you brought that which was torn. No, wait a minute. Just bear with me. Okay, here we go. 14th verse. But cursed be the deceiver, which hath in his flock a male, and voweth and sacrifices unto the Lord a corrupt thing. Right, whether the corrupt thing be something that has a blemish in it, something that's broken, a female or a male that had, that procreated, so on and so forth. This fucking noise wasn't going on a little while ago. They was making noise, but not like this. But it's all right. It's all good. Satan got to do his thing. But cursed be the deceiver, which hath in his flock a male. And it seemed like when I spoke about it, it got louder, but that's all right. Come on, bring it on, Satan. God damn it. Bring it on, God damn it. You damn demon. Fuck out of here. Salaka, bear with me. I'm just bugging out over here. But cursed be the deceiver, which hath in his flock a male, and voweth and sacrifices unto the Lord a corrupt thing. See? So it's a corrupt thing that they're sacrificing, which that's what Cain did. Now this could be done, like you have a blemish in the lamb, and you offer that instead of the best lamb that you have. But it could also be something that's deceptive. For I am a great king, saith the Lord of hosts, and my name is dreadful among the heathen. So that was just the point I wanted to bring out on that. So going back to Genesis 4 and 7, if thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted. And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door. And what is sin? Transgression of the law. So how would he know to do the right thing? Why would the Lord be upset with somebody when they don't know what to do? Let's go real quick to, what is that? Romans 4:15, is it? Romans 4:15, because the law worketh wrath, for where no law is, there is no transgression. So why would the Lord be upset with Cain if there was no law? Because if there was no law, there would be no transgression. So what happened there? There was a law, but it was oral. That's why the Most High got mad at him. And he said, if thou doest well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him, meaning over Satan. If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted, and if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door. So obviously there were laws in place, but they were just not written at the time. So this right here, what we're reading about, goes back about 4000 BC. More than 2,000 years before the Hammurabi Code. More than 1,700 or 1,600 years before the negative confessions of Ma'at. Long before the Enuma Elish. Long before the Epic of Gilgamesh. But it just wasn't written down. You know, just bear with me 1 second. Okay. The Epic of Gilgamesh was comprised around 2700 BC. And it doesn't really say. It says no later than the 12th century BC. I have to do a little more research on that in the Enuma Elish. You know, so these things, this was something that happened prior to all of this. So the law was oral. It just wasn't written down. Now let's go from there to Genesis chapter 7. And then we can continue on with the Hammurabi Code. Genesis 7:1. It says, and the Lord said unto Noah, come thou and all thy house into the ark. For thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation. Of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by sevens, the male and his female, and of beasts that are not clean by two, the male and his female. So where is this written at? The law that the Lord gave Moses wasn't written yet. Moses wasn't even on the scene yet. This is before the flood, before the people of the earth was destroyed by the flood. So how did Noah know what beasts were clean and what beasts were unclean? Which is a part of the law. Because the law was always there, but it was oral. Otherwise, how would the Lord find fault with Cain if there was no law? How would he be able to sin? How would he be able to transgress the law if there was no law? How did Noah know to discern between what animals were clean and what animals were not clean if they had no law? I'm waiting. Genesis chapter 9. Matter of fact, I'm going to read from the first verse because it goes into what we were speaking about earlier. Genesis 9:1. And the Most High blessed Noah and his sons and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, see, and upon every fowl of the air, upon all that moveth upon the earth, and upon all the fishes of the sea. Into your hand are they delivered. Every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you. Now we know that this is not, because somebody will read this and say, well, it says every moving thing. The pig moves, don't it? No, but there's a difference between the clean and the unclean. Even as a green herb have I given you all things. Let's see, Elder Yahshua, I'm going to put a precept in here. Let me see what we got. 2 Ezra 3:7. And unto him thou gavest commandment to love thy way, which he transgressed, see? And immediately thou appointest death in him, and in his generation of whom came nations, tribes, and peoples. Right, and that's Adam. So this from the beginning, the law was already established, but it was just oral. So it says, every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you. So do you mean to tell me that okay, so if that's the case, then why didn't Noah start eating people? A person is a moving thing, right? So why what would stop them, with the mindset of these wacky tacky Christians? Well, every moving thing, the pig moves, yeah, men move too. So why don't you eat a man? Eat them. Let me not say that. Eat a man sandwich, like in that movie, The Book of Eli. Oh, I seem to have found some meat. You want a sandwich? Why don't you eat a man sandwich? Or a woman sandwich? They move, don't they? So there's a distinction. Yeah, skunk tacos with cilantro on it. And a little bit of hot sauce. Oh man, it says, even as a green herb have I given it to you. It says, but flesh with the life thereof, which is the blood thereof, shall you not eat. But wait a minute. Isn't this before the law was written? Roughly around, what is that? Around 2,500 years later? Because the law wasn't written yet. This is before the Hammurabi Code. This is before the Enuma Elish. This is before the Epic of Gilgamesh. This is before the 42 Confessions of Ma'at. So what's up? Right. The 42 Confessions of Ma'at was written roughly 2925 BC, which was a little more than 1,000 years later after this time period. So it says, and surely your blood of your lives will I require. At the hand of every beast will I require it, and at the hand of man. At the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of man. So wait a minute. The killing of man, you can't do that. Thou shalt not murder. Where's that written at? That's written in the law of Moses, right? That was given to him by the Most High for the nation of Israel. But this was before it was written down. So how did he know not to do these things? How did he know to get the clean and the unclean beasts? Why was the Most High mad at Cain for offering fruits instead of offering a meat sacrifice like his brother Abel? It says, whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed, for in the image of the Most High made he man. So now let's move on from there. We'll get a couple more. Genesis chapter 12 and verse 17. It says, and the Lord plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife, because he took her to him. He didn't pop her because the Lord stopped him from it, but he took her to him. So why would the Lord be mad if the law wasn't established, if there was no law? It says, and Pharaoh called Abram and said, what is this that thou hast done unto me? Why didst thou not tell me that she was thy wife? Now, why would he say that? Because adultery was around. You weren't supposed to commit adultery. But it wasn't written yet. Because this was around, well, this actually happened around 2000 BC, so they can probably have an argument with that one. He said, why saidest thou, she is my sister? But this was before the law was established for Moses, that the Lord gave him to give to the children of Israel. So I might have taken her to me to wife. Now therefore, behold, thy wife, take her and go thy way. Now let's go from there to the book of Genesis 18. It says, let's see, Genesis 18 and 17. It says, and the Lord said, shall I hide from Abraham that thing which I do, seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him? For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord. because it was already there, but it was oral. And around these times, they started writing some of this stuff down. But it was established that the law was oral before it was written. And that's why the Most High had a problem with Cain. It says to do justice and judgment. Justice and judgment according to what? According to the law. That the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he hath spoken of him. Let's go to the word command. You have the word tazawah. To command, charge, give orders, lay charge, give charge to, order. And the Most High had already established a set of rules and regulations. But at this time, you know, and prior to that, to going to the beginning, they were all oral. Set in order, that all things be done decently in order. What establishes order? The law. All right, so now let's go from there. Let's get to this one here. This last one. Oh, actually, I got two more. Genesis 20 and 8. It says, therefore Abimelech rose early in the morning and called all his servants and told all these things in their ears, and the men were sore afraid. Then Abimelech called Abraham and said unto him, what hast thou done unto us? And what have I offended thee, that thou hast brought on me and on my kingdom a great sin? Wait a minute. Sin according to what? According to the law. Thou hast done deeds unto me that ought not to be done. And Abimelech said unto Abraham, what sawest thou that thou hast done this thing? Right? And it says, and Abraham said, because I thought, surely the fear of the Most High is not in this place, and they will slay me for my wife's sake. Yeah, because these people are heathens. But even among the heathens, they had like a certain, thing that they wouldn't. I mean, some stuff they just said fuck it, but they had, some of them had a certain way about them, that they wouldn't do certain things. They wouldn't commit certain acts against each other, because the law was oral before it was written. The brother said the law existed even in the Garden of Eden, for where there is no law, there is no Yep, we just brought that out not too long ago. Was there transgression in Eden? Yes. Was it wrong for Cain to murder Abel? Yes, yeah. And that's another. So that's another one. When Cain murdered Abel, thou shalt commit no murder. Because when you go to the law and it says thou shalt not kill, the word that should be there is thou shalt not murder. Because the word kill is harag. The word murder is tazarach, if I'm not mistaken. So there's a difference. The word there should be murder. And then when you go to the New Testament, Yahweh Shai said, thou shalt do no murders. Now, the last precept on this, let's go to Genesis 38. And this is before the law was given to Moses to give to the children of Israel. In 8, right, it says, and Judah said unto Onan, go in unto thy brother's wife and marry her and raise up seed to thy brother. And Onan knew that the seed should not be his. And it came to pass when he went in unto his brother's wife that he spilled it on the ground, lest that he should give seed to his brother. And the thing which he did displeased the Lord. So why would it displease the Lord? Well, people say, oh, because he pulled out and he spilled it on the ground. No. Wherefore he slew him also. Why? Because he knew that seed would not be his, but would be his brother. So after he had the pleasure of popping his brother's wife when he was dead, he pulled out and let it go on the ground because he didn't want to raise up seed to his brother. That's why the Lord killed him. Not because he pulled out. Now, let's go to Deuteronomy 25. And 5. If brethren dwell together and one of them die and have no child, the wife of the dead shall not marry without unto a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go in unto her, and take her to him to wife, and perform the duty of an husband's brother unto her. And it shall be that the firstborn which she beareth shall succeed in the name of his brother, which is dead, that his name be not put out of Israel. So this was written, about 500 years later, if that, or so, roughly around there, after this action took place. So why would the Lord be angry if there was no law? The law was there. It was oral. The law was always there, even from the beginning. The very first thing the Lord commanded Adam and Eve was not to eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That was a command. Now, let's go back to this code, this code thing here. We read about the false witness that was brought out here in the code of Hammurabi. You have false charges, false testimony, falsification of judgments, and then the penalty. And we read about that in Exodus, thou shalt not bear false witness. And what would happen to the individual if they bore false witness. Right now, we move on to the next one, property offenses. Now, in the property offenses, you have stealing and receiving stolen property, kidnapping, harboring fugitive slaves, and every law of the Code of Hammurabi is written next to each crime, for lack of better words. All right. If a man breaks into a house, they shall kill him and hang him in front of that very breach. Okay. Now, when we go and then, what was it? It was let's go here. And that was what was it? 6 to 25. Let's see if we could glean something off of this. If any, this is 6. If anyone steal the property of a temple or the court, he shall be put to death, and also the one who receives the stolen thing from him shall be put to death. Verse number 9. If anyone lose an article and find it in the possession of another, if the person in whose possession the thing is found say, a merchant sold it to me, I pay for it before witnesses, and if the owner of the thing say, I will bring witnesses who know, my property, then shall the purchaser bring the merchant who sold it to him, and the witnesses before whom he brought, so on and so forth, right? So let's go to Exodus 20, and I'm gonna echo Elder Yashawamba's sentiment. Now I know this is boring, so those scoffers are gonna be mad at this one. So you can move along, go somewhere else, because this ain't gonna be one of those controversial videos. This is just pretty much going into history, going into law, and we know how y'all hate this because a lot of you are here just for entertainment. So, not steal. Exodus 20 and 15. Thou shalt not steal. Now, what is the penalty for stealing? The scriptures say if a man be found broken up, because he steal, then there shall be no blood shed for him. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 19 and verse 15. It says laws of landmark and testimony. It says one witness shall not rise up against a man for any iniquity. I thought we read this already. Yeah, Salakia, I'm in the wrong. It's the 21st. Exodus 21, Salakia. And 21 and 16. We got a couple here. Exodus 21:16. And he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death. Let's go. That's stealing. Now let's go from there to Exodus 22 and 1. It says, if a man shall steal an ox or a sheep and kill it or sell it, he shall restore 5 oxen for an ox and 4 sheep for a sheep. So they give you the penalty and then they give you the punishment. Sometimes the punishment could be death. Sometimes the punishment can be repayment, double, triple, quadruple, however the law states. Sometimes, you could give a dowry, If a thief be found breaking up and be smitten that he die, there shall no blood be shed for him, right? Because he broke into this man's house. The man blew him away or killed him, however he did, and he deserved it. It says, if the sun be risen upon him, if the sun be risen upon him, there shall be bloodshed for him, right? So if the morning comes and it's found out that he stole, and then you go and you kill him, then now you got a problem. Like Esau got this thing. If somebody break into your house and you kill him in your house, that's justifiable. But if you chase him out of it, if he leave the house and you chase him out of your house and you kill him in the street, then you receive the punishment. They got that from the scriptures. For he should make full restitution. If he have nothing, then he shall be sold for his theft. See, restitution. If the theft be certainly found in his hand alive, whether it be ox or ass or sheep, he shall restore double. Right. So you had different punishments depending on, what the penalty or what the crime was. Now let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 20. I could just see the scoffers huffing and puffing all mad because they can't scoff at this. It says, when thou shalt besiege a city a long time and make no, this is dealing with something else. Let me leave that. We're going to go to that after, Lord's will. Deuteronomy chapter 24 and 7. It says, if a man be found stealing any of his brethren of the children of Israel, and maketh merchandise of him, or selleth him, then that thief shall die, and thou shalt put evil away from among you. All right. So that's just different codes, or laws in the scriptures of theft. And that's one of the, provisions of the Hammurabi code. Now you have land and houses, which they have different codes here, right? The one that I looked at, because you could go to different ones, but the one I looked at was cutting down trees, all right? And let's see, 59. Let's see what that says. Right, so it would be restitution if he cut down a tree. Now, in the case of trees in general, when you go to the law, let's go to the book of Deuteronomy 20, which we have right here already. Deuteronomy 20 and 19. It says, when thou shalt besiege a city a long time, in making war against it to take it, and Esau is guilty of this, thou shalt not destroy the trees thereof by forcing an axe against them, for thou mayest eat of them, and thou shalt not cut them down, for the tree of the field is man's life, to employ them in the siege. Only the trees which thou knowest that they be not trees for meat, thou shalt destroy and cut them down. And thou shalt build bulwarks against the city that maketh war with thee until it be subdued. And Esau just cuts trees down just in general, just for the hell of it, to clear a place, to put buildings up, to put highways or whatever the case is, to make money. That's why the scripture say that when this devil goes down, the trees are going to rejoice. All right. Now, moving along. Now we have something called land and houses. All right. Oh, we already went through that one. That's number 4. No, that's wait a minute. 1, 2, 3. That's 3. Number 4 is commerce. Right. Which I wrote down, committed to your trust. Like when you have loans and trade. Like sometimes, you'll have someone that will give you merchandise. Like right here, it says, if a merchant should give silver to a trading agent for an investment venture, and the trading agent incurs a loss on his journey, he shall return silver to the merchant in the amount of the capital sum. But now if you have something that you want your neighbor to hold for you, whether it's silver, gold, ox, lamb, they're supposed to guard that. They're not supposed to steal it. They're not supposed to just let it go. They're supposed to guard it as if it was their own. And there are laws in that concerning that. Let's go to Exodus 22 and 7. It says, if a man shall deliver unto his neighbor money or stuff to keep, and it be stolen out of the man's house, if the thief be found, let him pay double. If the thief be not found, then the master of the house shall be brought unto the judges to see whether he have put his hand unto his neighbor's goods. For all manner of trespass, whether it be for ox, for ass, for sheep, for raiment, or for any manner of lost thing, which another challenges to be his, the cause of both parties shall come before the judges, and whom the judges shall condemn, he shall pay double unto his neighbor. If a man deliver unto his neighbor an ass, or an ox, or a sheep, or any beast to keep, and it die, or be hurt, or driven away, no man seeing it, then shall an oath of the Lord be between them both, that he hath not put his hand unto his neighbor's goods, and the owner of it shall accept thereof, and he shall not make it good. And if it be stolen from him, he shall make restitution unto the owner thereof. If it be torn in pieces, then let him bring it for witness, and he shall not make good for that which was torn. And if a man borrow aught of his neighbor, and it be hurt or die, the owner thereof being not with it, he shall surely make it good. But if the owner thereof be with it, he shall not make it good. If it be an hired thing, it came for his hire. So pretty much, whether you hire out, different animals for whatever you need, or whether it's committed to your trust or whatever, or you see your neighbor's ox, moving along, you supposed to return it back to your neighbor, even if you don't like him. This was a set of rules and regulations that was established, but all of this goes back to the beginning because the law was always here. This is why these nations knew how to write these things down, because this is something that was already around. See? Hope y'all with me. Now let's go to Leviticus 6. Let's get some more boring, because I know there's some of you that are like, oh boy, some of you probably falling asleep, yawning. I can't wait for this lesson to be over. Leviticus 6:1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, if a soul sin and commit a trespass against the Lord, and lie unto his neighbor in that which was delivered to keep, or in fellowship, or in a thing taken away by violence, or have deceived his neighbor, or have found that which was lost, and lieth concerning it, and sweareth falsely in any of all these that a man doeth, sinning therein, then it shall be, because he hath sinned and is guilty, that he shall restore that which he took violently away, or the thing which he hath deceitfully gotten, or that which was delivered him to keep, or the lost thing which he found. And imagine, from Genesis all the way to Deuteronomy, this was read every Sabbath to the people. Every law, the whole book, all five books. Every Sabbath, they will read this. Or all that about which he hath sworn falsely, he shall even restore it in the principal, and shall add the fifth part more thereto, and give it unto him to whom it appertaineth in the day of his trespass offering. And that's why we read about Zacchaeus, when the Lord came to him, that he was going to dine with him that day. And he said, Lord, if I have stolen anything or taken anything wrongfully for somebody, I restore unto them fourfold. And Yahushua said, what? This day is salvation come to thine house. Because that was the law. But before it was written, it was oral. This is the point of the lesson. The law has always been here. But because somebody else wrote about it, just like if you have somebody that wrote about, everybody knows about the flood. If somebody else wrote about the flood, does that mean that they're the originators of the flood? That story or that situation, that event that took place, they came up with it, or they the only ones that know about it, and everybody else that writes about it afterwards, they're plagiarizing this guy? No, it actually happened. If you have 100 people witness something happening, and one person write it down before anybody else, but then everybody else, maybe like 15 or 20 people within that group, write that same thing again, does that mean that they plagiarized the first guy? No. They all saw the same thing, but they all wrote at different times. The law has always been around from the beginning. It says, and he shall bring his trespass offering unto the Lord, a ram without blemish out of the flock, with thy estimation for a trespass offering unto the priest. And the priest shall make an atonement for him before the Lord, and it shall be forgiven him for anything of all that he had done in trespassing therein. All right, now we're done with that. Now let's go to the next one. We had commerce. Now you have marriage, family, and property. You have slander, definition of married woman, adultery, remarriage and husband's absence, divorce, marriage, too, so on and so forth. It gives you a whole host of lists of different laws concerning marriage, family, and property. So what we want to deal with is adultery, right? Adultery. So it's 129 through 132. So let's go to 129. It says, if a man's wife be surprised in flagrant delicto with another man, both shall be tied and thrown into the water. But the husband may pardon his wife and the king his slaves. If a man violate the wife, betrothed, or child wife, oh, wait a minute, the who? The what? Child wife. This is back in 1700 BC. The Amorites, what? Child wife of another man who has never known a man and still lives in her father's house and sleep with her and be surprised, this man shall be put to death, but the wife is blameless. If a man bring a charge against one's wife, but she is not surprised with another man, she must take an oath and then may return to her house. Yeah, that sounds like the water, that rotteth out the thigh. So on and so forth. All right. You get the idea. Adultery. We go to Exodus chapter 20. All right. And we go to the 14th verse. It says, thou shalt not commit adultery. It doesn't explain what adultery is. It doesn't explain the penalty. It just says, thou shalt not commit adultery. You go to other statutes and sub-laws of the scriptures. It describes what adultery is. It describes the penalty. All right. Now let's go to Leviticus 20 and 10. Leviticus 20 and 10. It says, and the man that committeth adultery with another man's wife, even he that committeth adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death. Bottom line. All right. So now let's move on from there to the next one, which is assault. Assault on fathers, assault on Aryan class men, assaults causing miscarriage. Let's deal with the assault on fathers, right? That's 195, right? And it says, if a son strike his father, his hand shall be hewn off. And pretty much in this case, he's getting off easy. Now let's go to the law. Exodus chapter 20 and 12. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy power giveth thee. That's the key. Now let's go from there to the book of Exodus 21 and 15. It says, and he that smiteth his father or his mother shall be surely put to death. Verse 17, and he that curses his father or his mother shall surely be put to death. And we know an individual that cursed his father and he got shot in the chest and he went back in the spirit world, but he came back, All right. So there you go. There you have it. All right. The next one. This one is dealing with professional men, surgeons, veterinarians, barbers, builders, shipbuilders, and boatmen. It show you that they were doing surgery all the way back then. All right, so we're going to skip that one. The next one is agriculture. We're going to deal with oxen. Just with the oxen. You have different ones. We're going to deal with the oxen itself. Now, let's go to 251. We're almost done for, so hang on in there for a little bit more. 251. If an ox be a goring ox, and is shown that he is a gorer, and he do not bind his horns or fasten the ox up, and the ox gore a freeborn man and kill him, the owner shall pay 1/2 a mina in money. All right. Now let's go to the law on that. Let's go to the book of Exodus 21. We were just there. Let me see. Yep, 21 and 18. No, not 18. Exodus 21 and 28. If an ox gore a man or a woman that they die, then the ox shall be surely stoned, and his flesh shall not be eaten, but the owner of the ox shall be quit. But if the ox were wont to push with his horns in time past, and it had been testified to his owner, and he had not kept him in, but that he had killed a man or a woman, the ox shall be stoned, and his owner also shall be put to death. If there be laid on him a sum of money, then he shall give for the ransom of his life whatsoever is laid upon him. whether he have gored a son or have gored a daughter, according to his judgment shall it be done unto him. If the ox shall push a manservant or maidservant, he shall give unto their master 30 shekels of silver, and the ox shall be stoned. And the last one on here, there's more on there, but the last one we're going to deal with is rates of hire, which I labeled wages. Wages of craftsmen, hire of boats. All right, let's see. I didn't write down a number for this one, so. Right, if anyone hire a skilled artisan, he shall pay as the wages of the blank, 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 you know. If anyone hire a ferry boat, he shall pay 3 gerahs in money per day. If he hire a freight boat, he shall pay 2 1/2 gerahs per day. You know, so on and so forth, per day. All right. Now let's go to the law on that. Leviticus 19 and 13. It says, thou shalt not defraud thy neighbor, neither rob him. The wages of him that is hired shall not abide with thee all night until the morning. See? And there's another one similar to this. I can't remember where it's at. You know, but pretty much, you know, you see the similarities in the Hammurabi Code and the laws of the scriptures. But this is because the law has always been here from the beginning. And like I said, the Hammurabi Code wasn't written till around 755 or 50, in 5 years, about 750 BC. All right. You had the 42 Confessions of Ma'at written around, 2600 BC. Then you had the Enuma Elish. Then you had, you know, so on. So all of these laws, you know, the scriptures in the book of Genesis dealing with Adam and Eve and Cain, and him murdering his brother, and him bringing the wrong offering to the Lord, and the Lord being upset and mad with him. All of those things happened prior to any of these books or codes that were written, because the law was oral before it was written. All right. So that was just the point of the lesson. You know, like I said, you know, I know lessons like these are boring, but they are necessary. You know, if you could hang in there, hang in there. If not, hey, well, be about your way. So with that, I pray that you brothers and your few sisters have been edified. Until the next time I say, Shalom.